All right, well, don't forget that the most woman-abusing misogynist at the Jefferson County Courthouse is Judge Attorney Lorraine Rimson. What she did to Ginny Ellison is unthinkable. She protected the abuser. I showed Rimson pages and pages of items that had been stolen from Ginny Ellison. She was financially exploited. She was used. The people in Salish Rescue, including Libby Winstrom, picked up her drugs for her and then doled them out to her. I showed proof of all of this. There was a history of domestic violence. I showed the incident reports where the cops said, oh, well, we don't believe her because she's, splits personalities and she's got a mental health issue, right? Dove House didn't help her, right? Because they're part of the hive mind. She was just basically left for dead. I showed Rimson proof where Ginny was left for dead twice by two different men. She denied Ginny a protective order against him. Rimson said I didn't have standing to be Ginny's victim advocate, so she threw out hundreds and hundreds of documents, including fraud where the clerk had changed it from stalking to harassment. Proved all of this. They just dismissed it. Dismissed everything I brought to protect a victim of domestic violence that had a lifetime of mental illness. The local psychiatrist that diagnosed Ginny many years ago refused to come to court because he was afraid of the judges, afraid of the prosecutor, afraid of Salish Rescue, afraid of local politics, afraid of Libby Winstrom. Refused to testify, just let her burn. That court commissioner Forbes was evil to her. She's like, when did you become a vulnerable adult? Yelling at her. Forbes let Salish Rescue sit there and trash me for an hour. Wouldn't let me say one word. Said this isn't about her. And Libby Winstrom came to testify that I'd harassed her by posting public records. Right? All this is going on in Port Townsend, folks. Yeah. So Rimson gave a vulnerable adult that has a mental illness that, it's nearly killed her several times. After what Rimson did, Ginny was hospitalized for quite a while. Rimson doesn't care about mental health. She cares about politics. You'd think that she'd be like for women, being a lesbian, an old school lesbian, she'd be for women's rights. She wasn't. She looked at all that proof, the incident reports, prior domestic violence, the danger that this woman was in. She's like 5'4", the men are 6 foot tall. And Rimson's like, well, what I see here is Ginny Ellison is the problem. So what she did was, that evil misogynist demon, Lorraine Rimson, she gave the men who abused Ginny, sexually exploited her, financially exploited her, robbed her, used her, left her for dead. Yeah, Rimson gave them a protective order against Ginny. And you don't want me talking about it and helping their victim, right? Sick, right? People who protect the family abuser and the molester sick. So she wanted to make sure Ginny didn't have no rights, right? Make sure that she died and she's evicted and she's going through hell. So she makes sure and gives me the smackdown too, the victim's advocate trying to give her voice. Only one standing up for her. Only one telling the truth with documented facts. So she gives those same nasty evil men protective orders against me, so I can't talk about it. Then she removes all of the evidence online, right, with an illegal protective order, prior restraint to remove my First Amendment right. Didn't have the money to fight her. This is what you're up against in Port Townsend, pure demons. And they're disguised as, oh, I'm a lesbian and I care about everybody and I care about women's rights. Yeah. She's a misogynist, evil demon. And she's doing really dark work and hurting people. And the worst part is she has no conscience, right? I'm hearing now she's done it to many women that have hired her. She's done nothing to help them against their rapists and child custody cases. All kinds of stuff's piling up. Turns out that's just who she is. How odd, right? An old school lesbian, she's probably around my age, that's the biggest misogynist woman abuser in town, and she's in a position in the courts to hurt women every single day. It's pretty sick, and it's fact. So all of Salish Rescue got protective orders against me. They got them against Ginny. And then Libby hired an attorney to evict Ginny, right? No place to live. Put her on the run. They got adult protective services in their pocket. They got the social services in Clallam in their pocket. Everybody's circling, going after Ginny, right? This one woman who's a victim and a vulnerable adult. Why? Because Ginny knows their secrets, and Ginny told on them. Ginny's a bona fide whistleblower. She has whistleblower rights. Cops don't care. They didn't listen to her. They listened to the men of Sailor's Rescue because, they know stuff and they're important. It's funny, right? 2024, and still the cops and the detectives will listen to a man over a woman every fucking time, right? No matter how much proof. The detective, they hauled me in, right? Because I showed them forgery documents, right? They're like, oh, somebody forged something? Okay, well, it must have been you then, Crystal. So they come in and they questioned me. When they found out it wasn't me, they just dropped the case. They didn't go after who it was. They're like, oh, yeah, something's been forged here and we're going to get you for it, but we can't get you? Well, we can't get public enemy number one, then bye-bye. The detective was so nice. He's a good guy, but naive, boy. Well, he's like, this is how I like to do work, and it can't be online, and it can't just, well, you're not going to get very far at finding the actual truth, or even want to, right? He didn't buy into that it was politics. He didn't buy into any of the facts I give him about sex trafficking in Port Townsend and how Sailor's Rescue, cops, there's a lot of people involved in aspects of human trafficking and, taking women that have mental health issues and sexually exploiting them to groups of people and photos of them and all kinds of stuff, right? They don't care about any of that because they can't handle it. It just doesn't happen. So the victims suffer in silence, and then they silence me. Then, of course, like I've told you in my prior videos, Judge Mack, there's a death threat. So let's just pretend here, okay, we got a murderer out there who's going to kill some people in Sailor's Rescue, okay? This is very serious, and we're taking it serious. Now, Crystal Cox is an accomplice, and she's condoning it, so she's illegally harassed the people at Sailor's Rescue, so we're going to give them protective orders against her. Okay, off to jail for Crystal. Oh, so what about the murderer? Or the suspected murderer? Oh, we don't care about him. He's not public enemy number one. We're not going to investigate him. We're not going to talk to him. We're not going to look at him. We're not going to look at all of the complaints that you give the police or the protective orders you tried to get for Ginny to protect her from the murderer, the alleged murderer that they're trying to be like, oh, it's a murderer, right? They gave him protective orders against Ginny and against me, and then accused me of being his accomplice to put Sailor's Rescue in body bags. That's what Judge Mack did, right? This is your Port Townsend justice system. Just us. Protect politics at all costs, right? I got in big trouble because I was condoning putting Sailor's Rescue in body bags. But the man who was going to do it, or said it, they didn't mention his name, they didn't investigate him, then they gave him protective orders against me and against Jenny. That's what you're up against. There's no justice, there's no constitutional rights, there's no human rights in Jefferson County, Washington. Oh, unless you know Libby Winstrom, or maybe a Faber or two.